Vanilla. Orange. Vanilla.
Orange. Vanilla. Coke.
Do you know what smoking and cigarettes do to the inside of your body?
It hurts your body. Smoke and cigarettes can hurt your lungs.
It hurts your throat.
It hurts lots of other parts too.
It makes you more likely to get heart disease and lung disease.
It increases your risk for a heart attack or stroke.
And on the outside, it really just stinks.
Your clothes smell, your breath is gross, and your teeth get yellow.
Hello, do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Smoking isn't cool. It's not cool at all.
And it can kill you. And you won't start smoking for yourself. Just do it for me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And us.
So we have our nice guac smasher here.
That's the guac smasher?
The guac smasher. I always joked is, man, working at Chipotle definitely gave me some muscles. I mean, I worked at a sandwich shop before and the guacamole came in a bag in a freezer and who knows what was in it.
You know what's in all of this food.
Yes. I'm gonna add onions and cilantro, jalapenos, get all those ingredients in there.
It is fresh.
Fresh every day.
You've had quite the career.
Yeah, I've had some pretty prestigious jobs over the years. News producer, executive transport manager, and a beverage distribution supervisor. Now I'm a director at a security software firm.
Wow, you've been at it a long time.
The thing is, I like working. What if my retirement plan is I don't want to retire?
Then let's not create a retirement plan. Let's create a plan for what's next.
I like that.
Get a plan that's right for you. TD Ameritrade.
Corner pocket.
Greetings and salutations.
Whoa! It's the new guy!
You, sir, are correct. I am Epic Crunch Nacho, known worldwide for my powerful crunch. Crunch!
What the what? He just crunched the 8-ball!
Welcome to the team, Epic Crunch.
Thank you very much.
Ow! You crunched my hand!
Oh no! I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. It was a total accident. I'm sorry, it'll never happen again.
Psych!
Haha, you got me. New Goldfish Epic Crunch! Crunch that packs a punch!
Flavors of orange and vanilla and Coke living together harmoniously, just like the fine people of this town. Orange! Vanilla. Orange. Vanilla.
Orange, vanilla, Coke.
Do you know what smoking and cigarettes do to the inside of your body?
It hurts your body. Smoke and cigarettes can hurt your lungs.
It hurts your throat.
It hurts lots of other parts too.
It makes you more likely to get heart disease and lung disease.
It increases your risk for a heart attack or stroke.
And on the outside, it really just stinks.
Your clothes smell, your breath is gross, and your teeth get yellow.
Hello, do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Smoking isn't cool. It's not cool at all.
And it can kill you. And you won't start smoking for yourself. Just do it for me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And us.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, Adolf Hitler had a saying. He said that if you repeat a lie long enough and convincingly enough, eventually people will accept it as the truth. That's what Donald Trump's entire presidency has been about. The man would not know the truth if it bit him in the behind. I mean, seriously, the man would not know the truth. So he has continued to tell us that he was completely exonerated by the Mueller report. And if you look, his supporters will continue to say he's completely cleared. He's completely let go. And he even hired one of his hired guns, Bill Barr, to continue to tell the American people this, regardless of what the report actually said. And you know why it works? You know why he continues to get away with that lie? Well, the first thing you have to look at is, who are Donald Trump's supporters? Donald Trump supporters, if you look, as education levels go up, his support goes down. In other words, he deals with the dumbest of the dumb. He has more support among high school dropouts than he does among high school graduates. He has more support among high school graduates than he does among people who have attended some college. He has more support among people who have attended some college than he does above people who have graduated with a bachelor's degree. Anybody who has gone through higher education, higher levels of learning, he almost has no support. Anything past a bachelor's degree, he has no support. You know why? Because these are the people who won't sit down and read the Mueller report. These are the people who are going to sit down and take William Barr's word for it. Well, Mueller came out today, and he finally put all the myths to bed. And I guarantee Fox News and all of the let's call it what it is, state-sponsored media at this point, are going to run around and try and tell a different story. Now, Robert Mueller wrote the report. I want to be clear on this. Mueller wrote the report. So he knows what he put in his own report. But Donald Trump and his cronies are going to try and tell you that Mueller doesn't know what he's talking about in his own report. We have a whole lot to unpack with Mueller's statements today. So we're going to get right into it right after the greatest theme song in radio history.
So let me get this straight. I've been on air for an entire year now, speaking every and anything that comes to my twisted mind. And you haven't taken me off air yet? What is wrong with you people? Yo, welcome to the chamber. Recline, give me your free time. Let's analyze this nation with a refined mind. Let's keep trying to end the wars and throw the peace sign. Unify the pastor, rabbi, and imam to seek the divine. I do this for the Trayvons, the Michael Browns, the Eric G's, Ivories, the Ebonies. I seek the truth, they telling me lies. But you are tuned into the light, so let me open your eyes. Every weeknight on the mic, trying to speak right and exact information. Slash through the miseducation. You are tuned into the right station.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Chamber. I'm your host, Andre Roxx, Mr. Independent. And of course, you are tuned in to either KYBN Radio, the World Advantage Network, Real People Talk Radio, WNIA, or Hip Hop News Source Radio. That's HHNSradio.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Look, I'm going to jump right into it, and we're going to start playing the Mueller statement. I'm going to try and get this whole thing unpacked in the 2 hours that we have here on the show today.
In the 2016 presidential election. This included investigating any links or coordination between the Russian government and individuals.
My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't started at the beginning, and I don't want to be accused, as you often do. I get all of the fan letters. I don't want to be accused of, oh, well, you didn't play the whole thing. You're taking it out of context. So even though there's nothing in the beginning that I feel that we missed in the first 10 seconds of it that I feel is pertinent, I want to play the whole thing so that you guys don't accuse me later of trying to cut out parts. So take a listen.
2 years ago, the acting attorney general asked me to serve as special counsel, and he created the special counsel's office. The appointment order directed the office to investigate Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. This included investigating any links or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign.
Okay, so I want to clear something up right now, because there's a lot of confusion about exactly what Robert Mueller's mandate was. And he cleared it up very nicely right there. Robert Mueller's mandate was to investigate Russian interference with the 2016 election, period. His mandate was not necessarily to investigate the Trump campaign. This said, he did say including the Trump campaign. But let's say, on the off chance Hillary Clinton's campaign was involved in some sort of collusion or dealings with Russia, he would have been within his mandate to investigate that as well. So, of course, there was, because Donald Trump was reaching out to Russia. I don't know if you guys remember, he gave the speech saying, hey, Russia, find Hillary Clinton's emails. Because of that, obviously there was more suspicion on the Trump campaign. Also, the fact that he would not release it. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that he wouldn't, that there was some suspicion. He wouldn't release his tax returns, even though we know he had many businesses registered in Russia. There was a lot of reason to suspect. But the investigation and his mandate was to find out what happened. That led him to the Trump campaign. That led him to something like 30 odd indictments or something like that. That led him to Paul Manafort and Papadopoulos and all of these different individuals being put in jail or being indicted. That was his mandate. So the fact that the investigation even led to the Trump campaign was an afterthought. I want to be clear here, because there's a lot of talk going around. This was a witch hunt, this, that, or the other. No. Mueller investigated possible collusion or possible, and I want to give the correct legal term here, possible conspiracy with Russian operatives. And during that investigation, the Trump campaign came up. I don't know. It might have been because Donald Trump Jr. was meeting with people of the Russian government, operatives of the Russian government, and then lying about it. That could kind of raise some suspicion. But I want to be clear on that, and I'm glad that Mueller finally broke that down. That was not his original intention. That was not his original mandate. His original mandate was to find out about Russia. That's important, because that shows that this is not a witch hunt. He's just going where the evidence leads him. And the evidence led to Trump Tower.
Now, I have not spoken publicly during our investigation. I'm speaking out today because our investigation is complete. The Attorney General has made the report on our investigation largely public.
All right. I want to just add in a little bit of a breakdown of Robert Mueller's personality. Mueller, number one, you have to remember that Robert Mueller is not a Democrat. I know that, the Democrats have embraced Robert Mueller, and Robert Mueller has been championed and, of course, demonized by the Republicans. Oh my God, he hates Donald Trump and he hates the Republican Party and all of that. Robert Mueller is a lifelong Republican. He holds true conservative ideals. I disagree with many of the opinions that Robert Mueller has, but Robert Mueller is a lifelong Republican. So he's not going out on a witch hunt just to try and discredit the Republican Party. I know that there are some, I'm not even going to lie about it. There are some Dems out there who are going out to intentionally discredit the Republican Party. Mueller's not one of them. But Mueller is also a by-the-book career investigator. He's going to go where the investigation leads, regardless of who gets caught up in the web, whether it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party, whatever. Now, I want to add to that as Robert Mueller just said, he has not spoken publicly. Robert Mueller is a tight-lipped person, and he is a very by-the-book person. In other words, he recognizes what his mandates and what his duties are, and he steps away from the things that are not his mandate and his duty. He did not feel, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, he did not feel that it was up to him to indict or anything like that. Based on the Department of Justice policy, he felt it was his job to simply present the information. And I truly believe that he was going to leave it at that. But he felt that the presentation of his work was so egregious. He felt that his work was so misrepresented by William Barr that first he went privately to William Barr and said, hey, listen, you are misrepresenting my work. You are misrepresenting the spirit and the essence of my work. When William Barr continued to misrepresent that information, Robert Mueller felt that it was so necessary that the American people got the real information that he called a press conference, which is outside of his character. It's something he did not want to do. So let's be clear on that. He did not want to do this press conference. He's not intentionally going out trying to discredit anyone. He just wants the facts to be out. That makes him, in my opinion, more credible than most Democrats or Republicans. Now, we have to go to our musical break, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the phone lines are open, so if you got something to say about this, call in the show, 706-452-ROXX, 706-452-ROXX. That's 706-452-7699. We'll be opening the phone lines up as soon as we come back from our break. If you're tuned in on our radio stream, we are going to go to Mama Used to Say by Junior. If you're tuned in on our video stream, we're going to go to a word from our sponsors. Either way, we'll be right back here on The Chamber, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
Cigarettes due to the inside of your body.
It hurts your body. Smoke and cigarettes can hurt your lungs. It hurts your throat. It hurts lots of other parts too.
It makes you more likely to get heart disease and lung disease.
It increases your risk for a heart attack or stroke.
And on the outside, it maybe just stinks.
Your clothes smell, your breath is gross, and your teeth get yellow. Hello, do you hear what we're saying? Do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Smoking isn't cool. It's not cool at all.
And it can kill you. Hey, you won't start smoking for yourself. Just do it for me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And us.
So we have our nice guac smasher here.
That's the guac smasher?
The guac smasher. I always joked as, man, working at Chipotle definitely gave me some muscles. I mean, I worked at a sandwich shop before and the guacamole came in a bag in a freezer and who knows what was in it.
You know what's in all of this food.
Yes. I'm gonna add onions and cilantro, jalapenos, get all those ingredients in there.
It is fresh.
Fresh every day.
You've had quite the career.
Yeah, I've had some pretty prestigious jobs over the years. News producer, executive transport manager, and a beverage distribution supervisor. Now I'm a director at a security software firm.
Wow, you've been at it a long time.
The thing is, I like working. What if my retirement plan is I don't want to retire?
Then let's not create a retirement plan. Let's create a plan for what's next.
I like that.
Get a plan that's right for you. TD Ameritrade.
Corner pocket.
Greetings and salutations.
Whoa! It's the new guy!
You, sir, are correct. I am Epic Crunch Nacho, known worldwide for my powerful crunch. Crunch!
What the what? He just crunched the 8-ball!
Welcome to the team, Epic Crunch.
Thank you very much.
Ow! You crunched my hand!
Oh no! I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. It was a total accident. I'm sorry, it'll never happen again.
Psych!
Ha ha! You got me.
New Goldfish Epic Crunch! Crunch that packs a punch!
Flavors of orange and vanilla and Coke living together harmoniously, just like the fine people of this town.
Orange!
Vanilla. Orange. Vanilla.
Orange, vanilla, Coke.
Yes, y'all, that's Junior, Mama used to say. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the chamber. I'm your host, Andre Roxx, Mr. Independent. And of course, you are tuned in to either KYBN Radio, the World Advantage Network, Real People Talk Radio, WNIA, or Hip Hop News Source Radio. That's HHNSradio.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Once again, phone lines are open. You can call in at 706-452-ROXX. That's 706-452-7699. You do get directly on air with us, so you don't have to do any waiting or anything like that. There's no call screeners. You call in, you get directly on air with us. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right back to Mueller's statements here.
We are formally closing the special counsel's office, and as well, I'm resigning from the Department of Justice to return to private life.
Okay, all right. So the special counsel's office was designed for one reason, and that was to investigate this whole Russia hoax. We already talked about that. A lot of people are taking the idea that the investigation is over with and Donald Trump was not indicted. They're taking that as if somebody is saying, nope, Donald Trump is completely clear. And that's really what Trump is trying to convince you of. That's really what William Barr is trying to convince you of. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, let me just be clear about something, because I think we've already established that Robert Mueller is only doing this press conference because he felt that his work on the investigation was so egregiously misrepresented by William Barr that he had to speak out and speak on what really went on. Now, William Barr, though he is nominated by Donald Trump, he is the Attorney General of the people of the United States of America. He is not Donald Trump's personal lawyer. We need to remember that. We need to remember that every April 15th, when we pay our taxes, a portion of your taxes goes directly to William Barr, his pockets. That makes you his boss. And ladies and gentlemen, when you have an employee who is not doing their job, William Barr's job, by the way, is the top law enforcement agent in the country. His job is not to represent the President of the United States. He is to represent the people of the United States. He is not doing his job right now because he is defending the President of the United States against clear evidence that his own office, his own subordinates presented. When somebody who works for you is not doing your job, you fire them. I know that everybody is calling for impeachment of Donald Trump right now. And I am all for that. But we also need to be calling for the impeachment of William Barr. He is not doing his job. And we, the people, are paying him to not do his job. We, the people, are paying him to defend the President of the United States. We are paying for a personal attorney for Donald Trump. That's his personal business. If he needs a personal attorney, he goes and hires them. Just like if I need a personal attorney, I go and hire them. But that's not our job to pay for his personal attorney. So we need to be calling for the impeachment of William Barr. Sorry for that little side note. Let's get back to what Mueller had to say.
I'll make a few remarks about the results of our work. But beyond these few remarks, it is important that the office's written work speak for itself. Let me begin where the appointment order begins, and that is interference in the 2016 presidential election.
Again, his order was to investigate interference in the 2016 presidential election. There was no written order that said he needed to investigate Donald Trump. I just want to reiterate that the investigation was not started to investigate Donald Trump. The investigation was started to find out who interfered with our 2016 election and more than likely put Donald Trump in office. Now the investigation led to Donald Trump, which means there was some evidence that he was involved.
As alleged by the grand jury in an indictment, Russian intelligence officers who were part of the Russian military launched a concerted attack on our political system.
Wait a minute. I thought Donald Trump stood in Helsinki and said that Vladimir said we didn't do it, so we believe him. But Robert, you're telling us that you actually unearthed evidence to the contrary? Are you telling me that Vladimir Putin shouldn't be trusted? Oh my God, I can't believe it.
The indictment alleges that they used sophisticated cyber techniques to hack into computers and networks used by the Clinton campaign. They stole private information and then released that information through fake online identities and through the organization WikiLeaks.
We already knew this.
The releases were designed and timed to interfere with our election and to damage a presidential candidate.
We already knew this. So again, just the fact that Trump claims it never happened. See, I want to step back real quick and look at how Trump's claims evolved. Do you remember all throughout 2015 and 2016 during the campaign, Donald Trump claimed that he had absolutely no connection with Russia whatsoever. He had no business dealings in Russia. He had no connections whatsoever. There was nothing going on. The first chink in that armor was Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions repeated the corporate line. No collusion. We had no connection with Russia whatsoever. Till it was found out that Jeff Sessions had several meetings with Russian government agents, to which Sessions had to recuse himself from the investigation, much to Donald Trump's chagrin. Then it was, yeah, we had contact, but it wasn't about the election. And he ran that line for a couple months. Then it was found out that little Donnie Jr. decided to have a meeting with the Russians about getting emails from Hillary Clinton's campaign. And it was pretty much, they have, and I want to be clear on this because I like to be fair. Even though I don't like Donald Trump, I try to be fair and only speak about what is evident. I think that anybody with any sense realizes that Donald Trump Jr. or Donald Trump Sr. knew about that meeting, but it has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. I'll give you that. There has not been any proof. I still think Roger Stone can provide that proof, but we'll talk about that another day. But then it turned into, well, of course we spoke with the Russians. Anybody would speak to them. Remember, he went from we didn't speak to them at all to of course we were speaking to them. It's opposition research. Of course we would do it. Then we come to find out through Michael Cohen about the Trump Tower deal. Then it turned into, yeah, I had business in Russia. I had business in Russia because I didn't think I was going to get elected president. The story kept changing. So when Mueller began to investigate, of course, that looks suspicious. For anybody that even watches Law and Order, when somebody starts telling a bunch of lies, that's when investigators start investigating you. If you're telling a bunch of lies, probably means you got something to hide.
And at the same time as the grand jury alleged in a separate indictment, a private Russian entity engaged in a social media operation where Russian citizens posed as Americans in order to influence an election. These indictments contain allegations, and we are not commenting on the guilt.
You know, I do want to just sidebar this real quick. And I want to ask, because it never came out. I read the Mueller report. I read I've read some different investigations that have been going on. And it never really came out either an estimate or an accurate number as to how many votes were actually influenced. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump did not win the popular vote. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. And it was just a few thousand votes in some swing states, in some key electoral college states, that got Donald Trump elected. So I'm really curious as to how, has anybody done any research as to how much impact this Russian campaign actually had? Because I can remember Donald Trump making claims that 3 million illegal immigrants, because he didn't want to admit that he lost the popular vote. So, of course, his number matched the number he lost by. And he said 3 million illegal immigrants voted in the election with absolutely no proof to back that up. But I wonder if he actually got elected fairly. If he actually got elected at all. Is anybody researching that? I'm sure Mueller looked into it, at least briefly. But if anybody out there has any numbers on that, I would like to at least compare notes. You can call in the show, 706-452-ROXX, 706-452-7699. Let's see here. What time is it? Do we have to go to a break yet? Our clock is not working. We got 60 seconds till a break. Let's get back into this is not even the meat and potatoes of the Mueller statement yet.
Or the innocence of any specific defendant. Every defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
Hold on, I want to rewind that. I want to rewind that here. Because this is very important, what Mueller just said. When assessing the Mueller report, this is very important.
Where Russian citizens posed as Americans in order to influence an election. These indictments contain allegations, and we are not commenting on the guilt or the innocence of any specific defendant.
Before we go to our break, I want to be clear on what he said. Mueller, remember, Mueller's a lawyer, so he picks his words very carefully. He said, these are indictments. And the indictments, we're not commenting on the guilt or innocence. He didn't say we don't believe in the guilt or innocence of any specific person. He said we're not commenting. And then he goes on to say every American is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But let me tell you something about prosecutors. They do not indict. They do not convene a grand jury unless they feel that they have enough evidence to secure a conviction. And Mueller, being one of the most, how do I want to put this, cautious prosecutors out there, would doubly follow that rule. So every indictment and grand jury that was convened, please believe he feels he's got enough evidence to indict. And if you read the Mueller report, there's a lot of people that probably should have been indicted that were not due to Department of Justice policy. Now it's time for us to go to our next break. Let's see here. Let's go to a little bit of Tupac. All eyes on me. If you're tuned in on our radio stream, if you're tuned in on our video stream, we're going to go to a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back here on The Chamber, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. I'm Andre Roxx, host of The Chamber on KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS Radio. Now, when you see The Chamber's live video broadcast, this is what you see. But this is what you don't see. You see, when I started The Chamber 4 years ago, the only reason I got on air is because some station manager in Philadelphia thought it would be funny to let a rapper talk about politics and world events. And somehow we went from a small station with 12,000 listeners in Philadelphia to an internationally syndicated radio show on the KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS networks with millions of listeners worldwide. The only reason that happened is because you continue to support this show. Now, once again, The Chamber is breaking new ground and helping our community in the process. We've transitioned our studio into a high school classroom where students can learn the skills of audio and video production and earn real high school credit for it at no expense to the parents. Everything you see and everything you hear is being done by one of our students. From the video clips in our monitors, to the backgrounds, the lighting, the audio clips, even the microphone being turned on is done by one of our students. Heck, even some of the stories are brought to us by some of our students. Let me show you some audio clips. This is Kenny. He's growing up to be a fine audio engineer. Everything you hear on our show is being run through Kenny right now. He's 17 years old. He's from Pasco County, Florida. And this is BJ. And even though he's special, he runs every piece of video you're seeing right now. And he does an excellent job. Currently, we're able to provide this program to parents at no cost because I'm funding it out of my own pocket. But we won't be able to continue this without help and support from our viewers, friends, and fans. There are two ways that you can support the Chamber and our efforts. During our station break, the Chamber's video feed goes to commercials by our sponsors. If you run a business, you can take out one of these commercial ads for as little as $250. Not only would you be supporting our efforts, but you would get excellent advertising and marketing for your company. If you don't own a company, but you'd like to make a donation to our efforts, it's as simple as using your Cash App. Simply Cash App your donation in any amount to $sign Andre Roxx, all one word, and make sure that you put in the memo line, donation to the Chamber Radio Show. Your donations will go towards equipment, instructions, and equipment maintenance to help these high school students learn a valuable skill that they can use to make a career in the future. Finally, I want to say thank you for supporting the Chamber over the last 4 years, and I look forward to many more with you. And again, thank you for helping us turn the Chamber into more than a radio show, but a place for our youth to learn valuable skills that they can use to turn into a career in their future. Until next time, y'all, peace and blessings. I am out.
Do you know what smoking and cigarettes do to the inside of your body?
It hurts your body. Smoke and cigarettes can hurt your lungs.
It hurts your throat.
It hurts lots of other parts too.
It makes you more likely to get heart disease and lung disease.
It increases your risk for a heart attack or stroke.
And on the outside, it maybe just stinks.
Your clothes smell.
Your
breath is gross and your teeth get yellow. Hello, do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Smoking isn't cool.
It's not cool at all.
And it can kill you. Hey, you won't start smoking for yourself. Just do it for me. And me. And me.
And me.
And me.
And us.
Yes, y'all. That is Tupac. All eyes on me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the chamber. I'm your host, Andre Roxx, Mr. Independent. And of course, you are tuned in to either KYBN Radio, the World Advantage Network, Real People Talk Radio, WNIA, or Hip Hop News Source Radio. That's HHNSradio.com. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And the phone lines are open. Call in is 706-452-ROXX. That's 706-452-7699. 706-452-ROXX. Call in. We would love to hear from you. Love to hear your opinions on the Mueller investigation and the Mueller statements that he brought out today. Did I miss something? If you guys think that I missed something, let me know. But let's get back into it. And we haven't even gotten into the meat and potatoes of the Robert Mueller investigation yet, or the Robert Mueller statements on the investigation. So let's continue with his statement.
Every defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. The indictments allege, and the other activities in our report describe, efforts to interfere in our political system. They needed to be investigated and understood, and that is among the reasons why the Department of Justice established our office.
I want to be clear on this for a minute. And this isn't even about Donald Trump. But I know a lot of people are going to be shocked to hear me say this. But the design of our political system is, I'm not going to say perfect, but it's about as close to perfect as you can get. I know that's shocking to hear those words come from Andre Roxx. But the design of our democracy as a representative government, as it was written to be practiced, not as it is actually practiced, but as it is written to be practiced, is about as perfect as you can get. To have a government that is represented by the people of that government. The problem is, number one, the biggest problem is the majority of eligible voters don't vote. So they get mad about their representation and they're not represented because they won't cast a ballot. So number one, shame on you that don't vote. Number two, if our voting system is corrupted, then it does not work. If outside influences outside of our country can come in and through hostile or covert means influence our election, we no longer have a free and fair election, ladies and gentlemen. A person who represents the people is no longer going to be elected into office. Now, it is the fervent desire of Russia, as one of the world's three major superpowers, to take down its competition. Period. It's no secret. Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump elected. So let's look at the two issues side by side. Vladimir Putin wants Donald Trump elected. Vladimir Putin wants to take down the U.S. government. He wants to eliminate us as a superpower. So why did Vladimir Putin want Donald Trump elected? Because he felt that Donald Trump would destroy our country. Think about it. All of you that voted for Trump and you claim that you are patriotic Americans. Think about it. You have actually aligned yourself with somebody who wants to take down our country. You have the same opinions and the same voting habits as somebody who wants to take down our country. You may want to think about how patriotic you really are. Just a thought.
That is also a reason we investigated efforts to obstruct the investigation.
Now this is where we're getting good.
Investigated were of paramount.
Look, okay. Whether or not you're a Trump supporter, a Mueller supporter, whether you want Obama back, you wanted Hillary in, you were a Bernie Sanders supporter, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. Obstruction of justice is not the same as saying that Donald Trump colluded with Russia. Obstruction of justice is saying that once the investigation was started, people tried to stop it. People tried to impede it. That is a crime no matter how you cut it. And anybody who tried to impede the investigation is guilty of obstruction of justice. So even if you believe that Donald Trump did not in any way collude with Russia, if you're that foolish to believe that, you still have to look at Donald Trump's actions. Now, you only have to look as far as the firing of James Comey to see that Donald Trump intended to interfere with the investigation. Because Donald Trump ain't too bright. I know a lot of you guys think he's smart. And the truth of the matter is, the people that think he's smart are dumb. Because Donald Trump is the dumb man's version of a smart man. It's kind of like the old saying goes. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In the land of the stupid, the guy with an IQ above 81 is king. Doesn't mean he's smart. It just means he's smarter than the stupid people. But even if you think all of that, you have to look at the dumb move he made by going on Lester Holt and admitting he fired James Comey to stop the Russia investigation. He admitted it. He also said it to a few Russian oligarchs. That in itself is obstruction of justice. You can't deny he obstructed justice because he admitted it. That's a crime. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, impeachment requires either high crimes or misdemeanors. Under United States law, even the lowest level of obstruction of justice is a misdemeanor. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I was charged with a misdemeanor obstruction of justice about 8 months ago. I know that for a fact. I beat the case, Pasco County Sheriffs. You guys were full of crap. But I was charged with obstruction of justice. It's a misdemeanor. Now, if you can be impeached for a misdemeanor, and he clearly committed a misdemeanor, why are we debating about impeachment? What's the debate? I know I'm going off on a little tangent. Let's get back to Mueller talking here.
Importance. It was critical for us to obtain full and accurate information from every person we questioned. When a subject of an investigation obstructs that investigation,
like Trump,
lies to investigators,
like Trump,
it strikes at the core of their government's effort to find the truth and hold wrongdoers accountable.
So we know that Donald Trump obstructed the investigation because, remember, James Comey was the head of the investigation before Robert Mueller was appointed. We know that Donald Trump attempted to fire Robert Mueller. We found that out through, God, I can't remember his name. I want to say Flynn, but that's not it. You guys know who I'm talking about. it's a little bit late, and I'm losing my train of thought. But we found out that Donald Trump attempted on several occasions to fire Robert Mueller for the same reason. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, obstruction of justice does not mean that the obstruction was successful. To be charged and convicted of obstruction of justice, to be guilty of obstruction of justice, it only means that you tried to stop the investigation. I want to be clear on that.
Let me say a word about the report. The report has two parts, addressing the two main issues we were asked to investigate. The first volume of the report details numerous efforts emanating from Russia to influence the election.
Robert Mueller made it clear Russia did try to influence the election. There was no doubt. And if you read the full Mueller report, I know a lot of you guys won't go and do that, but if you read the full Mueller report, the man lays out so much evidence that my 8-year-old son would get it. Yes, Russia tried to influence our elections. There's no doubt, no question.
This volume includes a discussion of the Trump campaign's response to this activity, as well as our conclusion that there was insufficient evidence to charge a broader conspiracy.
So, here's what works in Trump's favor. They say there's insufficient evidence to charge a conspiracy with the Trump campaign and Russia. I know I'm paraphrasing, but this is what Mueller is saying. He's saying, look, we didn't have enough evidence. Once again, I want you to be clear. Robert Mueller is a career prosecutor. He is extremely cautious about his words. And remember, these words were prepared ahead of time. So he probably pored over them over and over and over again before choosing the exact right words. He didn't say that there was no conspiracy or no collusion with Russia. I know William Barr and Donald Trump would have you believe that, but that's not what he said. He said there was insufficient evidence. Let me put it another way. If I commit a murder and I dump the body in the ocean and it gets eaten by a shark, so there's no body, and I clean up the murder scene to the point where there's no physical evidence, but people heard me saying, I'm going to kill you, and knew that I was serious right before it happened. Common sense, everybody knows I killed that person. But there's not enough evidence to charge me in the court of law. He didn't say Trump was cleared of these charges. He didn't say that Trump's family was cleared of these charges. He said, I don't have enough evidence. I can't prove it. Now that's very important when we get to a statement that he makes a little bit later on. He says a little bit later on, and we'll touch on it in more detail when he gets to it. But he says at this point, the investigation is no longer up to the special counsel. What he's saying is, listen, I got to pass the buck. I've hit a brick wall. I've hit a dead end. But I'm not telling you he didn't do it. I'm not telling you that anybody didn't do it. What I'm saying is I can't prove it. But I'm going to pass the buck, let you guys keep investigating. We'll talk about that more when we come back.
And in the second volume, the report describes the results and analysis of our obstruction of justice investigation involving the president. The order appointing me special counsel authorized us to investigate actions that could obstruct the investigation. We conducted that investigation and we kept the office of the acting attorney general apprised of the progress of our work.
That would be, just for the record, the office of the acting attorney general is not William Barr.
And as set forth in the report after that investigation, if we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime.
Wait a minute. That's the meat and potatoes of it. Now, he said that everyone has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. So he's telling you, I'm never going to come out and say the president committed a crime. Basically, that's up to a jury or a legislative body. But he also said, if we concluded that Donald Trump had not committed a crime, we would have come out and said he didn't commit a crime. Now, that tells me that Robert Mueller is going as close as he possibly can to saying, hey, listen, he obstructed justice without violating his mandate or the policies of the Department of Justice. I mean, he couldn't lay it out any clearer. He said, look, if we didn't think the president committed a crime, we would have said that. We didn't say that. Now, this goes contrary to what Donald Trump and William Barr have been spewing out of their lie-filled mouths for months now. When they say, Robert Mueller cleared us. He said we didn't do it. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Mueller never wanted to come out publicly. He just wanted the report to speak for itself. The fact that he's coming out publicly and speaking about this means that he was so offended by the fact that they're saying that he cleared Donald Trump that he felt the need to set the record straight. And that's what he's doing today, setting the record straight. He says, in no uncertain terms, we did not clear Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump continues to contest that, saying the Mueller report clears me. Now, I'm going to ask all you Trump supporters one very simple question. And please feel free to justify this to me. You can call in the show, 706-452-7699. Feel free if you've got an argument for this one. But I want to ask you one simple question. Who do you think knows more about what's in the Mueller report? The guy who wrote it, or the guy who had it written about him? Who do you think has a better read on the interpretation and the meaning of that document? Who do you think can tell you better what the report means? I'm going to go with the guy who wrote it. I think he kind of knows what he was trying to say in his report. This kind of makes sense to me. It's time for a little bit of Ice Cube. It's our top of the hour musical break, ladies and gentlemen. This is the long musical break, the 10-minute one. So we're going to go to our musical break. We're going to go to a little bit of Ice Cube and then a little bit of DMX. If you're tuned in on our live video stream, we're going to go to a word from our sponsors. Either way, we'll be right back here in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
So we have our nice guac smasher here.
That's the guac smasher?
The guac smasher. I always joked as, man, working at Chipotle definitely gave me some muscles. I mean, I worked at a sandwich shop before and the guacamole came in a bag, in a freezer, and who knows what was in it.
You know what's in all of this food.
Yes. I'm gonna add onions and cilantro, jalapenos, get all those ingredients in there.
It is fresh.
Fresh every day.
You've had quite the career.
Yeah, I've had some pretty prestigious jobs over the years. news producer, executive transport manager, and a beverage distribution supervisor. Now I'm a director at a security software firm.
Wow, you've been at it a long time.
The thing is, I like working. What if my retirement plan is I don't want to retire?
Then let's not create a retirement plan. Let's create a plan for what's next.
I like that.
Get a plan that's right for you. TD Ameritrade.
Corner pocket.
Greetings and salutations.
Whoa! It's the new guy!
You, sir, are correct. I am Epic Crunch Nacho, known worldwide for my powerful crunch. Crunch!
What the what? He just crunched the 8-ball!
Welcome to the team, Epic Crunch.
Thank you very much.
Ow! You crunched my hand!
Oh no! I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. It was a total accident. I'm sorry, it'll never happen again.
Psych!
Haha, you got me.
New Goldfish Epic Crunch! Crunch that packs a punch!
Flavors of orange and vanilla and Coke living together harmoniously, just like the fine people of this town.
Orange! Vanilla. Orange. Vanilla.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andre Roxx, host of The Chamber on KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS Radio. Now, when you see The Chamber's live video broadcast, this is what you see. But this is what you don't see. You see, when I started The Chamber 4 years ago, the only reason I got on air is because some station manager in Philadelphia thought it would be funny to let a rapper talk about politics and world events. And somehow we went from a small station with 12,000 listeners in Philadelphia to an internationally syndicated radio show on the KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS networks with millions of listeners worldwide. The only reason that happened is because you continue to support this show. Now, once again, the Chamber is breaking new ground and helping our community in the process. We've transitioned our studio into a high school classroom where students can learn the skills of audio and video production and earn real high school credit for it at no expense to the parents. Everything you see and everything you hear is being done by one of our students. From the video clips in our monitors, to the backgrounds, the lighting, the audio clips, even the microphone being turned on is done by one of our students. Heck, even some of the stories are brought to us by some of our students. Let me show you something. This is Kenny. He's growing up to be a fine audio engineer. Everything you hear on our show is being run through Kenny right now. He's 17 years old. He's from Pasco County, Florida. And this is BJ. And even though he's special, he runs every piece of video you're seeing right now. And he does an excellent job. Currently, we're able to provide this program to parents at no cost because I'm funding it out of my own pocket. But we won't be able to continue this without help and support from our viewers, friends, and fans. There are two ways that you can support the Chamber and our efforts. During our station break, the Chamber's video feed goes to commercials by our sponsors. If you run a business, you can take out one of these commercial ads for as little as $250. Not only would you be supporting our efforts, but you would get excellent advertising and marketing for your company. If you don't own a company, but you'd like to make a donation to our efforts, it's as simple as using your Cash App. Simply Cash App your donation in any amount to $Andre Roxx, all one word, and make sure that you put in the memo line, donation to the Chamber Radio Show. Your donations will go towards equipment, instructions, and equipment maintenance to help these high school students learn a valuable skill that they can use to make a career in the future. Finally, I want to say thank you for supporting the Chamber over the last 4 years, and I look forward to many more with you. And again, thank you for helping us turn the Chamber into more than a radio show, but a place for our youth to learn valuable skills that they can use to turn into a career in their future. Until next time, y'all, peace and blessings. I am out.
Do you know what smoking and cigarettes do to the inside of your body?
It hurts your body. Smoke and cigarettes can hurt your lungs.
It hurts your throat.
It hurts lots of other parts too.
It makes you more likely to get heart disease and lung disease.
It increases your risk for a heart attack or stroke.
And on the outside, it really just stinks.
Your clothes smell, your breath is gross, and your teeth get yellow. Hello? Do you hear what we're saying? Do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Smoking isn't cool.
It's not cool at all.
And it can kill you. And you won't start smoking for yourself. Just do it for me. And me. And me. And me.
And me.
And us.
So we have our nice guac smasher here.
That's the guac smasher?
The guac smasher. I always joked as, man, working at Chipotle definitely gave me some muscles. I mean, I worked at a sandwich shop before and the guacamole came in a bag in a freezer and who knows what was in it.
You know what's in all of this food.
Yes. I'm gonna add onions and cilantro, jalapenos, get all those ingredients in there.
It is fresh.
Fresh every day.
You've had quite the career.
Yeah, I've had some pretty prestigious jobs over the years. News producer, executive transport manager, and a beverage distribution supervisor. Now I'm a director at a security software firm.
Wow, you've been at it a long time.
The thing is, I like working. What if my retirement plan is I don't want to retire?
Then let's not create a retirement plan. Let's create a plan for what's next.
I like that.
Get a plan that's right for you. TD Ameritrade.
Corner pocket.
Greetings and salutations.
Whoa! It's the new guy!
You, sir, are correct. I am Epic Crunch Nacho, known worldwide for my powerful crunch. Crunch!
What the what? He just crunched the 8-ball!
Welcome to the team, Epic Crunch.
Thank you very much.
Ow! You crunched my hand!
Oh no! I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. It was a total accident. I'm sorry, it'll never happen again.
Psych!
Haha, you got me.
New Goldfish Epic Crunch! Crunch that packs a punch!
Flavors of orange and vanilla and Coke living together harmoniously, just like
Orange! Yes, yes, y'all. That is DMX. X gonna give it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the chamber. I'm your host, Andre Roxx, Mr. Independent, and of course, you are tuned in, to either KYBN Radio, the World Advantage Network, Real People Talk Radio, WNIA, or Hip Hop News Source Radio. That's hhnsradio.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Once again, I want to talk about we're talking about the Mueller investigation and the new statements that Robert Mueller has made regarding his investigation and the contradictory nature to the Trump administration. Before the break, we played the clip where Mueller basically said, without saying it, I mean, he's going to go as close as he can to saying this without actually coming out and saying it because it is a violation of Department of Justice policy. He said, look, I can't prove, I don't have enough evidence, rather, to indict. I don't have enough evidence, and even if I could, I would not indict because it goes against Department of Justice policy. He said that's not up to my body, or that's not up to my office to do so. That is up to the elected bodies of the Senate and the House of Representatives. He said, if I thought Trump was innocent, I would have said that. How much more clear does he have to make it? The man's not innocent. The man is guilty, at least of obstruction of justice. Let's continue with Mueller's statements because he gets a little bit deeper.
The introduction to the volume 2 of our report explains that decision. It explains that under long-standing department policy, A president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office.
Let's stop right there. Now, William Barr came out and said that it was never even a consideration that the Department of Justice's policy was not to indict a sitting president. He said that Trump was cleared. So it's not even something that we consider. Now, the first paragraphs of the second section of the Mueller report, and we've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, they said clearly that that is the absolute reason why we didn't indict. We didn't consider indictments because we're not allowed to. It is our policy not to indict a sitting president. So how dare William Barr just come out and point blank lie to the American people? Again, it seems at this point that William Barr is participating. He is an accomplice to the obstruction of justice, which would make him guilty of a misdemeanor. Why aren't we considering impeachment for William Barr? Listen, I know that the President of the United States, that's the sexy position. That's the position that everybody is concerned about because it's a representative position. This is the person who represents us overseas. This is our head of state. And that's like the highest office in the land. But we do have to concern ourselves with the highest law enforcement officer in the land. We do have to concern ourselves with all of the people who we have on our payroll that we as the bosses of the United States of America pay taxes to fund that are not doing their job. I want you to think about it like this. We are the bosses. We are the CEOs of a corporation. That is the way that our country was designed, so that we made the hiring and firing decisions for the corporation of the United States of America. Now, as the CEO of a corporation, you don't just look at one person to see if they're doing their job. You have to look at everybody in your organization and make hiring and firing decisions based on their job performance. William Barr is not doing his job. He is literally lying to our faces. I want you to think about this. If you lied to your boss's face about something important that went on in the company, how long would you keep your job? Hold these people to the same standard. That's all I'm saying. Hold William Barr to that standard. We are the bosses because we write the paychecks. Why aren't we holding him to that standard?
That is unconstitutional. Even if the charge is kept under seal and hidden from public view, that too is prohibited.
He's saying he can't charge him.
The special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by that department policy.
I want to speak on this real quick as well. The Department of Justice is the head of the executive branch. Or I'm sorry, the Department of Justice is a part of the executive branch of the United States government. It seems to me a little bit foolish that when a special counsel is appointed in a government where we're supposed to have checks and balances, that a special counsel would be appointed under the Department of Justice rather than, the Congressional Judiciary Committee, Congressional Oversight Committee, anything like that. Because it seems a little bit like the fox is watching the hen house. Because at the end of the day, the executive branch, Donald Trump, runs the executive branch of government. This is why there was such a debate about Robert Mueller and firing him and all of that. Because Donald Trump is the head of the executive branch. And these people serve at the pleasure of the president. It's a little bit counterintuitive to have somebody investigating their boss who can fire them during their investigation for their investigation. That may be something that we need to look into, and I'm hoping that legislators in the future are not just looking into this incident, but they're looking into how to prevent this in the future. I hope that somebody is drafting a bill right now that says, hey, from now on, the special counsel's office either acts independently of the Department of Justice or is under another branch of government, either the judicial or the legislative. Because it's ridiculous to have Donald Trump being the boss of his own investigation. Or for that matter, any president being the boss of their own investigation. You know, I've sat in front of grand juries and I've been indicted for things before. I would have loved to be able to pick my own investigators. The only thing I get to pick is the next song for our break. So we're going to go to Cameo, Word Up, if you're tuned in on our radio stream. If you're tuned in on our video stream, we're going to go to a word from our sponsors. Either way, we'll be right back here on The Chamber. Stay tuned.
Vanilla. Orange. Vanilla.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andre Roxx, host of The Chamber on KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS Radio. Now, when you see The Chamber's live video broadcast, this is what you see. But this is what you don't see. You see, when I started The Chamber 4 years ago, the only reason I got on air is because some station manager in Philadelphia thought it would be funny, you see, to let a rapper talk about politics and world events. And somehow we went from a small station with 12,000 listeners in Philadelphia to an internationally syndicated radio show on the KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS networks with millions of listeners worldwide. The only reason that happened is because you continue to support this show. Now, once again, The Chamber is breaking new ground and helping our community in the process. We've transitioned our studio into a high school classroom where students can learn the skills of audio and video production and earn real high school credit for it at no expense to the parents. Everything you see and everything you hear is being done by one of our students. From the video clips in our monitors, to the backgrounds, the lighting, the audio clips, even the microphone being turned on is done by one of our students. Heck, even some of the stories are brought to us by some of our students. Let me show you something. This is Kenny. He's growing up to be a fine audio engineer. Everything you hear on our show is being run through Kenny right now. He's 17 years old. He's from Pasco County, Florida. And this is BJ. And even though he's special, he runs every piece of video you're seeing right now. And he does an excellent job. Currently, we're able to provide this program to parents at no cost because I'm funding it out of my own pocket. But we won't be able to continue this without help and support from our viewers, friends, and fans. There are two ways that you can support the Chamber and our efforts. During our station break, the Chamber's video feed goes to commercials by our sponsors. If you run a business, you can take out one of these commercial ads for as little as $250. Not only would you be supporting our efforts, but you would get excellent advertising and marketing for your company. If you don't own a company but you'd like to make a donation to our efforts, it's as simple as using your Cash App. Simply Cash App your donation in any amount to $sign Andre Roxx, all one word, and make sure that you put in the memo line, donation to the Chamber Radio Show. Your donations will go towards equipment, instructions, and equipment maintenance to help these high school students learn a valuable skill that they can use to make a career in the future. Finally, I want to say thank you for supporting the Chamber over the last 4 years, and I look forward to many more with you. And again, thank you for helping us turn the Chamber into more than a radio show, but a place for our youth to learn valuable skills that they can use to turn into a career in their future. Until next time, y'all, peace and blessings. I am out.
Do you know what smoking and cigarettes do to me?
Yes, y'all. That is Cameo. Word up, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Chamber. I'm your host, Andre Roxx, Mr. Independent. And of course, you are tuned in to either KYBN Radio, the World Advantage Network, Real People Talk Radio, WNIA, or Hip Hop News Source Radio. That's HHNSradio.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We are talking about Mueller's statements over the afternoon.
Charging
Let's go right back
into
into
crime
it.
was therefore not an option we could consider. The department's written opinion explaining the policy makes several important points that further informed our handling of the obstruction investigation.
Okay. He's saying in no uncertain terms, we can't charge him. The guy is basically covertly begging Congress, do something about this. I can't do nothing about this. Help me out here.
Those points are summarized in our report, and I will describe two of them for you. First, the opinion explicitly permits the investigation of a sitting president because it is important to preserve evidence while memories are fresh and documents available. Among other things, that evidence could be used if there were co-conspirators who could be charged now. And second, the opinion says that the Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing.
Congress, this is what he's saying. He's saying, Congress, do something. I can't do it. Help. I laid all the evidence out for you. Deal with this, Congress. Come on, please.
And beyond department policy, we were guided by principles of fairness. It would be unfair to potentially accuse somebody of a crime when there can be no court resolution of the actual charge.
I can't take him to court, so therefore I can't accuse him of a crime. Congress, you can do it. Here's the evidence. I wrote a 400-page report for you.
So that was Justice Department policy. Those were the principles under which we operated.
Remember, he said, if we thought he was not guilty, we would have said that. He laid out 200 and some odd pages about his participation in Russia, Donald Trump's participation with the Russia investigation, as well as his obstruction of justice. Mainly his obstruction of justice. I think he laid out a very clear case as to his obstruction of justice. He's saying, look, I can't accuse him of a crime. He already said, I won't not accuse him of a crime. I mean, how much clearer can he make this?
And from them we concluded that we would not reach a determination one way or the other about whether the president committed a crime. That is the office's final position, and we will not comment on any other conclusions or hypotheticals about the president. We conducted an independent criminal investigation and reported the results to the Attorney General, as required by department regulations.
Now, this is very interesting, because had the Attorney General represented the results of the Mueller probe, the Mueller investigation, whatever you want to call it, accurately, this press conference would not have happened. And you can't even believe for one moment that he misrepresented it unintentionally, because Mueller wrote him privately and said, hey, listen, I don't think how you're representing my investigation is accurate. I'm going to need you to go ahead and correct some of these things. And Attorney General Barr continued to spread falsehoods. Even after Mueller, the guy who wrote the report, the guy who wrote the conclusions, said, yeah, you're kind of wrong there. That's why the press conference is even happening. So remember, he presented this to the Attorney General after investigating it mainly under Rod Rosenstein, and it was misrepresented.
The Attorney General then concluded that it was appropriate to provide our report to Congress and to the American people. At one point in time, I requested that certain portions of the report be released. The Attorney General preferred to make the entire report public all at once. And we appreciate that the Attorney General made the report largely public, and I certainly do not question the Attorney General's good faith in that decision.
I do.
Now, I hope and expect this to be the only time that I will speak to you in this manner. I am making that decision myself. No one has told me whether I can or should testify or...
All right. So then it gets into, you know, the droll outro of, hey, I don't want to do this again. Hope you guys have enough information. This man is reaching out and saying, look, I can't indict. I also am not going to sit here and tell you that Trump is guilty because I can't indict, therefore I can't take him to trial. But Congress, you can. The Senate, you can. Here's the information. He punted the ball down the road. Now I got a question for every American, not just a Democrat or Republican. But I got a question for every American. What's more important to you? Protecting a guy that you support, or protecting the integrity of the office of President of the United States? You know, I've been doing this show for almost 4 years now, which means that when I started this show, there was another guy in the White House. His name was Barack Obama. You guys remember him? Tall, liked to play basketball. Kind of talk like this. Yeah, that guy. I was a big fan of Barack Obama. I supported him. But I didn't blindly support him. And he did something while I was on air, and I got so much hate mail for speaking on this. Donald Trump was trying to Barack Obama was trying to institute his new immigration policies. And he was running into a lot of resistance from Congress. So he decided to take it upon himself and sign an executive order that instituted his immigration policy. And I went absolutely ape on air, not because I didn't agree with his immigration policy, but we have a system of laws. And that system of laws says that if you, as the president, want to have a policy instituted, you take it through Congress. You convince Congress that this is the right thing to do. If you can't, they can shut it down. You write your bill, you introduce it, you find a congressman and a senator that will sponsor it, and you have it voted on. If they decide that that's cool, they will send it back to your office for you to either approve or veto it. This is how the system of checks and balances works. And when Barack Obama decided to circumvent the system of checks and balances, I went ape. I agreed with the policy, but I did not agree with how he went about it. Because when a president does something, it sets a precedent for every president in the future as to what can and cannot be done. And just like he wrote a law via executive order, one that I agreed with, one that many did not agree with, any future president, like, I don't know, a guy like Donald John Trump, could do the same thing and has done the same thing with some horrible policies. And he has not had to run them through Congress because of the precedent that Barack Obama set. What I'm saying is, it's okay to disagree with the actions of somebody that you generally support. Or are you just a blind sheep? If he's doing something that you want him to do, no matter what happens, the ends justify the means. Is that how you feel? Or do you have respect for the so-called integrity of that office? Do you have respect for the rule of law here in the United States of America? Do you have respect for our system of government? 3 branches, co-equal, with the power to check each other. Is it okay for your president to obstruct justice because you support him? I want to talk real briefly about impeachment, because one of the things that's bothering me as I've been watching the news today is I'm watching the Democrats kind of punt when it comes to the question of impeachment. A few of them are not punting, but I'm watching a lot of them kind of punt. They're saying things like, well, you know, we want to make sure before we file articles of impeachment that it's, you know, that his actions are worthy of impeachment. You know, we want to make sure that we have a strong enough case that his actions rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors. They're making impeachment seem like it is such a high standard. Like there is such a high standard to impeach the president of the United States. You know why? Even though the left seems to be more on the moral side of justice, why there's even fights and debates is because the left won't fight. They pussyfoot around things. I want you to remember how strongly the right fights. It wasn't too long ago that the right wing, the Republican Party, impeached the President of the United States for having an extramarital affair. The standard is not that high to impeach the president. They impeached him for sleeping with someone. So why are you all holding this impeachment to such a high standard? Do what you gotta do. Sun Tzu wrote a book called The Art of War. And I think most people consider this to be the definitive work on warfare. Both psychological and actual warfare. Political. Most people use this book when dealing with business and politics and everything like that. They consider this to be a guide on any type of adversarial encounter. And he said, the easiest way to win a war is to convince the other side not to fight back. The Republicans, the right wing, they're fighting. Again, they will they will impeach a president over getting laid. And the Democrats are like, we have to have this holy mission. We have to have a sign from God before we will impeach. So they're fighting, and we're standing back waiting for a sign. How stupid do you have to be? I'm going to take you guys, if you're tuned in on our radio station, to a little bit of James Brown. If you're tuned in on our video stream, we're going to go to a word from our sponsors. Either way, we'll be right back here in just a minute. Stay tuned. Don't turn that dial.
Smoke and cigarettes can hurt your lungs.
It hurts your throat.
It hurts lots of other parts too.
It makes you more likely to get heart disease and lung disease.
It increases your risk for a heart attack or stroke.
And on the outside, it leaves a stinks.
Your clothes smell, your breath is gross, and your teeth get yellow. Hello? Do you hear what we're saying? Do you hear what we're saying?
Do you hear what we're saying?
Smoking isn't cool.
It's not cool at all.
And it can kill you. If you won't stop smoking for yourself, just do it for me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
And us.
So we have our nice guac smasher here.
That's the guac smasher?
The guac smasher. I always joked as, man, working at Chipotle definitely gave me some muscles.
And me.
I worked at a sandwich shop before. The guacamole came in a bag in a freezer, and who knows what was in it.
You know what's in all of this food.
Yes. I'm gonna add onions and cilantro, jalapenos, get all those ingredients in there.
It is fresh.
Fresh every day.
You've had quite the career.
Yeah, I've had some pretty prestigious jobs over the years. News producer, executive transport manager, and a beverage distribution supervisor. Now I'm a director at a security software firm.
Wow, you've been at it a long time.
The thing is, I like working. What if my retirement plan is I don't want to retire?
Then let's not create a retirement plan. Let's create a plan for what's next.
I like that.
Get a plan that's right for you. TD Ameritrade.
Corner pocket.
Greetings and salutations.
Whoa! It's the new guy!
You, sir, are correct. I am Epic Crunch Nacho, known worldwide for my powerful crunch. Crunch!
What the what? He just crunched the 8-ball!
Welcome to the team, Epic Crunch.
Thank you very much.
Ow! You crunched my hand!
Oh no! I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. It was a total accident. I'm sorry, it'll never happen again.
Psych!
Haha, you got me.
New Goldfish Epic Crunch. Crunch that packs a punch.
Flavors of orange and vanilla and Coke living together harmoniously, just like the fine people of this town.
Orange! Vanilla. Orange. Vanilla.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andre Roxx, host of The Chamber on KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS Radio. Now, when you see The Chamber's live video broadcast, this is what you see. But this is what you don't see. You see, when I started The Chamber 4 years ago, the only reason I got on air is because some station manager in Philadelphia thought it would be funny to let a rapper talk about politics and world events. And somehow we went from a small station with 12,000 listeners in Philadelphia to an internationally syndicated radio show on the KYBN, WNIA, and HHNS networks with millions of listeners worldwide. The only reason that happened is because you continue to support this show. Now, once again, the Chamber is breaking new ground and helping our community in the process. We've transitioned our studio into a high school classroom where students can learn the skills of audio and video production and earn real high school credit for it at no expense to the parents. Everything you see and everything you hear is being done by one of our students. From the video clips in our monitors to the backgrounds, the lighting, the audio clips, even the microphone being turned on is done by one of our students. Heck, even some of the stories are brought to us by some of our students. Let me show you something. This is Kenny. He's growing up to be a fine audio engineer. Everything you hear on our show is being run through Kenny right now. He's 17 years old. He's from Pasco County, Florida. And this is BJ. And even though he's special, he runs every piece of video you're seeing right now. And he does an excellent job. Currently, we're able to provide this program to parents at no cost because I'm funding it out of my own pocket. But we won't be able to continue this without help and support from our viewers, friends, and fans. There are two ways that you can support the Chamber and our efforts. During our station break, the Chamber's video feed goes to commercials by our sponsors. If you run a business, you can take out one of these commercial ads for as little as $250. Not only would you be supporting our efforts, but you would get excellent advertising and marketing for your company. If you don't own a company, but you'd like to make a donation to our efforts, it's as simple as using your Cash App. Simply Cash App your donation in any amount to $ Andre Roxx, all one word, and make sure that you put in the memo line, donation to the Chamber Radio Show. Your donations will go towards equipment, instructions, and equipment maintenance to help these high school students learn a valuable skill that they can use to make a career in the future. Finally, I want to say thank you for supporting the Chamber over the last 4 years, and I look forward to many more with you. And again, thank you for helping us turn the Chamber into more than a radio show, but a place for our youth to learn valuable skills that they can use to turn into a career in their future. Until next time, y'all, peace and blessings. I am out. Yes, y'all. That's James Brown, the big payback. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chamber. I'm your host, Andre Roxx, Mr. Independent. And of course, you're tuned in to either KYBN Radio, the World Advantage Network, Real People Talk Radio, WNIA, or Hip Hop News Source Radio. That's HHNSradio.com. I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in today. And I'm going to go to my final thoughts, and I'm going to let you out of here a little bit early today. My final thoughts are, if you are a supporter of Donald Trump, if you're one of those morons, and yes, you are a moron if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, you have to ask yourself a very simple question. Do you believe that someone is above the law simply because you support them? Then you have to ask yourself, does the same hold true because I support someone? Are they above the law? Are you going to hold the President of the United States accountable for his actions, regardless of whether you support him or not? You guys claim to be these huge patriots.
You believe in law and order. Remember, Donald Trump is the law and order president. So let him stand trial. Let him prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he is not an obstructor of justice. It's going to be difficult for him to do, considering he admitted it on national TV. But if you support him and you believe him to be innocent, then let him prove it. Let him prove it. And before you guys start writing me letters for Fan Mail Friday, I know your argument because I've already heard it. I've tuned into, Fox News and Rush Limbaugh today and all of that. And your argument is the same argument you've been making. Well, what about Hillary Clinton? First of all, one person committing a crime. Let's say Hillary Clinton is guilty. One person committing a crime does not clear another person from committing a crime. If I murder somebody, I can't walk into court and my defense be, well, what about Casey Anthony? She got away with it. If I walk into a court on a rape, my defense can't be, well, what about Brock Turner? He only got 6 months in jail for a rape. Each person has to stand alone. So stop talking about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and ask yourselves, did Donald Trump do it? Second, if there's evidence to show that Hillary Clinton obstructed justice, I'm all for both of them standing trial. Hillary, of course, not being the president of the United States, would stand trial in a criminal court. And Donald Trump, being the president of the United States, would stand trial in the impeachment proceedings. But we don't clear one person by proving that another person did a crime. And if that's the only argument you have, your argument is piss poor. Finally, I'd like to say this. There's a very good chance that in less than a year and a half's time, Donald Trump will be walking out of the White House. The Department of Justice only has a policy about indicting a sitting president. Considering that the obstruction was ongoing at least until the beginning of this year, the statute of limitations has not passed and will not pass before he is out of office. I think we should seriously consider filing criminal charges against Donald Trump after he leaves the White House. I'm going to let you guys out of here a little bit early today. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my show. I want to thank everybody out there for inviting me into your home, into your vehicle, onto your laptop, your cell phone, your tablet, computer, however you're listening to me today. I want to thank you for inviting me into your eardrum. It is always an honor and a privilege to have my voice heard, to have my opinion taken into consideration. Even if you disagree with everything I just said, I still appreciate you at least taking the time to hear me out. That's an honor and a privilege that I don't take for granted. So thank you very much for that. As always, y'all, remember, we don't have to like each other, but God said we should love each other. I'm your host, Andre Roxx, Mr. Independent. Until next time, y'all, peace and blessings. I am out.